He then goes to the airport where he walks amongst the crowd while using the girls as a wall of eye candy, completely distracting the agents from ever looking at him. Frank manages to walk right past Carl's men and escapes to Europe. He also uses a decoy in the unloading zone just to mess with Carl further. 7 months later, in 1967, Carl advises his boss that Frank has been forging checks all over the Eastern Hemisphere. Only this time, the checks are the real thing. Claiming that Frank is completely out of control, he requests permission to track him down in Europe. His boss, however, denies him permission, citing that if Carl couldn't catch Frank while he was within the USA, he won't catch him in Europe. Carl refuses to give up and takes one of Frank's bogus checks to professional printers who deduce, from the quality of the check, that it must have been printed on a specific kind of printer that is only available in a handful of European countries, one of which is France. Remembering from an interview with Frank's mother that she was born in France, Carl travels to her birthplace of Montrichard and finds Frank, on Christmas Eve, inside a massive printing factory, printing thousands upon thousands of checks. Carl tells Frank that he came with the French police and promised them to arrest him himself. Frank assumes Carl is lying, but Carl convinces him that he will be shot if he walks out of the factory without Carl. Frank agrees to handcuff himself and Carl takes him outside, where, seeing no police, he compliments Carl on his ability to fool him. Almost immediately, however, the French police arrive and escort Frank to prison, while Carl promises to have Frank extradited back to the USA. After 2 years, Frank is released into Carl's custody, as was seen in the opening of the film, and on Christmas Eve 1969, the plane extraditing Frank flies into the United States. As they prepare to land, Carl informs Frank, who has been requesting several times to call his father, that Frank Sr. died accidentally the previous year. Devastated, Frank locks himself in the plane's bathroom and escapes from the plane to track down where his mother lives. His escape leads them the Barnes residence, where Frank finds his mother, happily married to her second husband, who now has a young daughter whom Frank realizes is his half-sister. With his father dead and realizing his mother has moved on, Frank quietly surrenders as Carl and the local police arrive and arrest him, before his mom and her new family can realize who he is. Frank is finally tried, convicted, and sentenced to 12 years, completely isolated, in a maximum security federal prison of Atlanta. During the next 4 years, Frank receives regular visits from Carl, especially around Christmas time. During one of these visits, Frank easily identifies a forger Carl is chasing after simply by glancing at a check that Carl casually shows him, giving the FBI agent an idea. Sometimes later, Carl visits Frank again, only this time, with his boss. They give him a check which he aptly identifies as fake as soon as he touches it, which makes Carl smile. In 1974, Carl arranges for Frank to be allowed to serve out the remainder of his sentence working for the check fraud department of the FBI under Carl's custody. Although Frank is out of prison, he is chained to his desk job and misses the thrill of his old life. When he stumbles upon a pilot uniform, Frank gets tempted into posing as an airline pilot once again. Just as he is about to fly away, Carl meets him at the airport. Carl allows him to go free, predicting that Frank will return to work on Monday since there is no one chasing him anymore. Back in the office on Monday morning, Carl is nervous when Frank doesn't show up for work on time. However, Frank does show up, and the two begin going over a recently discovered check forgery that shows some new methods of forgery they haven't encountered before. As they look over the check, Carl asks Frank something that has been on his mind for years: how he cheated on the Louisiana bar exam to become a lawyer. Frank claims he didn't cheat, and that he studied for 2 weeks and passed the exam on his own merits. Carl inquires to know if this is the truth, but Frank prefers to focus on the case at hand and presses on. It is then revealed through scrolling text that Frank has been happily married for 26 years, had 3 sons, lives in the Midwest with his family, is still good friends with Carl, caught some of the world's most elusive money forgers, and gets millions of dollars each year because of his work creating unforgeable checks.